John and Ken Show. John Cobelt and Ken Champo. There is one purpose for David Keiffer, who's the head of the SEIU, the Service Employees International Union. He's the political director. He wants your tax money to give to his 700,000 union members.
Now
Simple
follow this, because it's really important that you do, because this man has a grand plan to take more and more of your tax money over the long term by planting more and more politicians in Sacramento that would be the union's puppets.
He needs Republicans. Now, two big things are going to happen for the next election cycle. They're going to redraw the districts. You know, they've been heavily weighted over the last 10 years to ensure that the Republicans have a permanent minority plus 2 or 3 seats. You know, a permanent 1/3 minority plus a couple of extras. And that the Democrats would have a permanent 2/3 majority minus a couple of seats. They made that deal back in 2000 so that all the incumbents would be safe for the life of their political career in the legislature. And it's worked. Almost never is an incumbent voted out. The Democrats run the place. The Republicans have just enough to thwart tax increases. They made a deal on this 10 years ago. 10 years later, there's a commission, an alleged citizens commission, that's going to draw up new boundaries. Second major difference, and this is important, there's no longer going to be a Republican primary and a Democratic primary. We all get to vote in one primary. Whether you're Republican, Democratic, Independent, Green Party, doesn't matter. We all get to vote. So, let's say the first primary is in June. There might be 17 candidates on the list. Could be 5 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 3 Libertarians. Who knows? The top 2 go on to the finals in November in a runoff. So this is what David Keiffer's plan is. Yeah, he's running TV and radio ads and sending mailers to try to pressure Republicans to vote for taxes now. But maybe that doesn't work. What happens in the next election cycle? Next year? Well, what he wants to do is finance what he calls moderate Republicans. He doesn't care what their opinions are on all the other issues. He just wants them to be pro-taxes. What they want to do is find former firemen, former police officers who would be sympathetic to tax increases to preserve the pensions. And
they'd sell it as preserving public safety.
So
it's all on the line.
Understand, you would have several Democrats running and several Republicans. Now, what they want to do is marginalize what they consider a right-wing Republican who does not want tax increases. They're going to say, hey, that guy, he's an extremist, anti-tax zealot. This Republican here, you agree with him on 9 out of 10 issues. And look what he's trying to do. He's trying to preserve public safety, ensure that cops and firemen don't get laid off, really what they're ensuring is their pensions. You see how this would work?
And they're going to throw in education, too.
Oh, yeah.
Believing, because, you've read the polls. People apparently were hand-wringing over cuts to K through 12 schools, even though in the end they said no to the tax extensions. They still showed a lot of sympathy for K through 12, the children. So he'll try to find someone else that will play to that, and even have a note here that he's going to try to sell these voters on the in-home care for the elderly.
Yeah, he says he wants to change the terms of the debate and present the choice as protecting services that Republicans care for. Public safety, education, in-home care for the elderly. Stop talking about whether they support tax extensions. Start talking about, do you support Of course, it's a false choice. You don't have to pay exorbitant pensions. You don't have to spend all the money we do on illegal aliens. You don't have to spend all the money we do on prisons. And you don't have to spend all this money on teachers who are among the highest paid in the nation with free health care in L.A., but he's going to run the terms of the debate. So then he hopes that the anti-tax Republican gets marginalized in this grand primary, and that the moderate Republican wins. So now he has a Democrat that the union is backed, and he has a Republican that the union is backed. And as far as he's concerned, he doesn't care who wins, as long as both the Democrat and the Republican will increase taxes for government employees. That's all he cares about. You can name 10 other issues. He doesn't care. He's going to rig the election so that there's pro-tax Republicans and pro-tax Democrats.
He did a guest column on John Fleischman's Flash Report blog a couple of weeks ago, and I just have one small story. Well, we've got a ground game. This is actually written by David Keiffer. Last week, for example, we unleashed hundreds of walkers in upscale Huntington Beach, knocking on the doors of homes valued in the 7 figures. Now, I have to admit that our walkers were skeptical of taking our budget message to these high-income households, but they found a receptive audience there after residents learned that their crown jewel, Huntington Beach State Park, could be on the next round of state parks slated to be shuttered because of state budget cutbacks. You see the strategy here?
Is to scare them with nonsense. To scare them with garbage.
How many times have we told our listeners, and hopefully there's a few in Huntington Beach, that the state parks are a minuscule amount of the state budget, and all they're trying to do here is hold them hostage. It's the same strategy every damn time.
They spend huge amounts of money on things that you don't get a benefit from. You don't get any benefit that they spend $50,000 on every prisoner. You don't get a benefit that the prison guards are walking away with hundreds of weeks of vacation time that they can cash in at the end of their retirement. You don't get a benefit from that.
But he does.
Intentionally, yes, he
Negotiating deals like that is what makes him powerful, because that's who pays the dues that pay his salary. The public employee unions. So when they got those outrageous pension increases 10 years ago, and that prison guard contract from Gray Davis, which gave him, 37% raise over 5 years, this is what David Keiffer's about. He'll sell you on other things to distract you, but what he wants is the tax money for great deals for public employee union members.
So, David Keiffer, we're going to be on the attack. Now, coming up, we're going to put his head on a stick.
That's right.
We have a phone number for his organization. We're going to get you more phone numbers. The war is now engaged with the man who is ruling the state of California. It's not Jerry Brown. It's David Keiffer. He's got way more power and pull because he has so much money to access. And he's got this new primary format where he thinks he can get pro-tax Republicans elected. This is the state we're in, where we're going to end up with pro-tax Democrats and pro-tax Republicans.
All right.
And there's going to be nobody defending us here in one of the highest tax states in the nation.
Tax Revolt 2011, Heads on a Stick continues with, yes, a head is being put on a stick in the next segment.